Good afternoon, friends. I welcome Honorable Union Finance and Corporate Affairs Ministers Shrimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, Revenue Secretary Shri Sanjay Malhotra ji, Chairman CBIC Shri Vivek Johri ji. As you know, 48th GST Council meeting met today morning through VC, and Honorable Finance Minister is here to brief you on the outcome of the council meeting. Format of the today's media briefing would be as follows. First, Honorable Minister will brief you on the important decisions, and after that there will be question-answer session. So please put your hand. I will call you by name and accommodate you as much possible. Over to Madam.
Thank you. The 48th meeting of the GST Council happened this morning. We had about 15 items on agenda, and even as we started, there was this request by some ministers from the states saying, could it please actually end at 1:30 because they had other committed business, and it was suggested that if any agenda is left over, we could carry it to the next meeting. And that was also sort of put to the House, and all ministers came in to say, we agree, we can conclude at 1:30 and take the agenda forward for the next meeting. So having agreed to end the meeting at any cost by 1:30, meaning smoothly, we completed 8 of the agenda points. And therefore, the rest would be carried on to the next, hopefully an in-person meeting. Importantly, of the 7 agenda that we could not take up today, the GOMs are also part of those 7 which we couldn't take up. There were 2 GOM issues which had to be discussed. One relating to the capacity-based taxation on tobacco and gutkha, and the other relating to the setting up of a tribunal, GST tribunal. So both these have not been taken up. So leaving aside that, in sequential order, about 7 agenda points were attended to, and one which related to data sharing was also taken up. So the meeting ended at 1:40, something like that, and we've come before you. I'll ask Sanjay and Vivek to get into the details of the decisions which have been taken today. And there will also be a press release which will be shared with you. Sanjay?
Thank you, ma'am. As Honorable Minister has informed, basically we had 2 major agenda items, one related to the tax rates and the others related to some procedural and law related changes, other than the routine agendas, confirmation of minutes, notifications placed for ratification, some exemptions which were given. So the major decisions which the council today took, I think one major path-breaking recommendation is with regard to decriminalizing certain offenses. 3 kinds of offenses have been recommended to be decriminalized. They pertain to obstruction or preventing any officer in discharge of his duties, deliberate tempering of material evidence, failure to supply the information. Moreover, the threshold limit of tax amount for launching prosecution in any criminal offense defined under the GST laws, the limit has been increased from 1 crore to 2 crore for all offenses other than those involving fake invoices. In the same line of providing reducing the workload of the courts, compounding amount has been decreased. Right now it is 50% to 200%, 150% of the tax amount. So this has been reduced to 25% to 100%. Certain decisions were also taken regarding rates. One of them is relating to husk of pulses, including chilka and concentrates, including churi, khanda, etc. This attracts 5% rate. This has been reduced to nil. Previously, when it was used as cattle feed, it was exempt, but when used as a cattle feed ingredient, it was being taxed at 5%. So this relief is being given. The other exemption relates to extension of the 5% tax on ethyl alcohol, presently 18%, for blending purposes. Already we had allowed 5% reduced rate for blending with petrol by the oil marketing companies. Now this exemption is being extended to the refineries as well. So this will further promote our efforts on blending and reduce our dependence on imported crude and thereby save precious foreign exchange. Then a number of clarifications were given, basically so as to provide clarity, because some tax authorities were assessing it at one tax rate, other authorities at another tax rate. I think it's a very good idea if such kind of circulars are issued on a regular basis. So in line with that, Council decided to issue circulars relating to RAB, FRIAMs, which will attract 18%, which are already attracting 18%, but just a clarification so that there is no doubt. Similarly, the cess, applicability of cess on SUVs, this was clarified, and certain clarification was also provided for the equipment and materials used by petroleum companies for exploration, etc. It was also decided to include supply of mentha arvensis under reverse charge mechanism, as has been already done for mentha oil. A major decision was taken today to facilitate e-commerce for micro enterprises. You would be aware, in the last meeting, 47th GST Council meeting, Council had decided to allow the e-commerce operators to supply the unregistered, the products of unregistered vendors, dealers, as well as composition taxpayers. So the modalities for that, in terms of the changes it would require in the law and the rules, etc., were approved by the Council. Then there were a number of other matters for relief and clarification for the taxpayers. One pertaining to the years 17, 18, 18, 19, as to how to deal with the mismatch of the invoices in GSTR1 vis-a-vis GSTR3B. So that will further help in the administration of tax. Another clarification pertains to the no-claim bonus, which is offered by the insurance companies. So it has been decided to clarify that this will not attract any GST. No-claim bonuses, as you are aware, offered by insurance companies when the insurer does not claim any compensation under motor insurance or any other insurance. So these are, I think, the major the major decisions taken by the council. We'll of course be circulating a detailed press release. Thank you.
Question. Timsi. First Timsi and then Sushil. First Timsi.
Gaming and casinos, that was much awaited because in the last council meeting it was said to be on the agenda, but was that there on the agenda? Has the report been assessed? Are you planning to take that up in the next meeting? And also on tribunals, as ma'am said that it could not be taken up this time. If you could give broad highlight points of the GOM report as to what has been suggested by the GOM. In terms of appellate tribunals, because that is a step which the industry is looking forward to.
Yeah, so insofar as the first report that you mentioned about casinos, etc., and online games, that was received only a couple of days ago, so there was not much time. Even if we had circulated it, the honorable members of the council would not have got time, and so that's why we have decided we did not circulate it. So it was not part of the agenda of this particular GST council meeting. Insofar as the second report, GOM report, that could not be considered because of scarcity of time, as the honorable minister has already pointed out. So that will be discussed. I mean, this is an internal report. Some formulation has been suggested, keeping in mind the various pronouncements, legal pronouncements, judicial pronouncements in this regard, how to amend the law, but it could not be discussed. I would not be able to go into the details of what has been recommended.
Shashir.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, inverted duty structure is one of the biggest concern, and textile that was deferred on January 1, and you announced that GOM on rate rationalization will give the recommendation on that. So, and there are some other items also like fertilizers and some other items. So, can we expect some decision in next GST Council on IDS, ma'am?
I can't say anything at this moment because the GOM's report itself has not reached us yet. About rate rationalization, is that broad category you're referring to? Most of the items are with the GOM. If there are others, like for instance, if there's one item, I am going to deal with it separately, am I not? Will have to be decided. At the moment, there's nothing that we're talking about. Yes, but they needed more time.
Meghna.
Ma'am, the threshold for this GST prosecution has been increased and there is decriminalization also. By when will it come into effect? And secondly, on the GM and online gaming, though it was not taken up today, my just question is that though there is no consensus because the GOM has said that there is no consensus amongst the members even after so many months, how do we intend to take it forward at the GST Council?
Well, first of all, I'll have to circulate it, the report which has been given. Then when the council meets, it certainly will be discussed threadbare, and whatever evolves will have to evolve in the council's meeting then, when it takes on board the council's report, the GOM's report. So taking it forward for me would mean that I first circulate it to all the others as well who are not part of the GOM, but nevertheless for all the members of the council it will be a fresh scent for them to have a look at it. And then a date will be fixed for the council, wherein hopefully all the members will talk about how the report has come about and what is it that we have to do further. So that's a process in which I have to follow. Sanjay, you want to say?
We will be getting it in the finance bill. So as and when, all the states and the center are able to get it through, it will so it will take time, as you are aware, because everyone has to actually get their own laws passed through their respective legislatures.
105, Nick.
Ma'am, Could you please explain what was the earlier issue and what has been clarified now? What's the treatment going to be now?
As it is, what has been issued, in fact, that gives me an opportunity to explain and put forth one thing right up front. In this council meeting, there has not been any tax increase on any item. Everything that has been done is to issue clarifications where ambiguity of interpretations prevailed. Like even the issue of rub, which is the juice extracted from sugarcane, which after that, when it goes into the machine of the centrifugal, whatever, churns out molasses. But the juice prior to going into the machine, what UP calls as rub, was a subject of ambiguity prior to today's meeting, where one state issued for rub producers a notice saying, why can't I tax you, because that is molasses, whereas that person would say, no, it is rub. So such kind of situations have all been gone through by the Fitment Committee, and in this meeting, if there is one dominant feature, it is on very many such issues we've issued clarifications. No new taxation has been brought in, no new taxes at all. Majority of all that has been discussed is Fitment Committee's recommendation that's been brought to the council on clarifications provided or necessary to be provided on very of these. RAB is an example that I've taken. Similarly, is this SUV. There too, we have given an explanation based on all the discussion which has happened through the Fitment Committee. And on the SUVs, the clarification that has been given that the higher rate of compensation cess of 22% is applicable to motor vehicle fulfilling all 4 conditions, and the 4 conditions are, it is popularly known as SUV. So if the vehicle is already known as an SUV and it has engine capacity exceeding 1500 cc, and then the length exceeding 4000 mm, and a ground clearance of 170 mm or above, which is in the notification entry number 52B. So that clarification has been brought in. But even as we brought in this clarification, there was a request to bring in or add to this MUVs, which are now being already in the market and people are talking about it and so on. So what has been agreed by the council is that this goes ahead, this clarification goes ahead. But if there is anything else which has to be added on to this 22% rate, the Fitment will look into it. And any state or any minister who wants to add, saying this also comes under that category of SUV, please use it. Because this whole discussion, I think, emerged when questions about whether sedans should be included or not. Some states interpret it this way, some interpret it in some other way. So this clarification is not new tax. It's more to say what defines that commodity which is under taxation as SUV. So that's the issue.
Next, Girish.
Ma'am, Girish from Mint. Ma'am, given that economic growth rate is getting more normalized and is expected to further normalize in the next quarter and also probably in the next financial year, where do you see the average, monthly collection, revenue collection stabilizing at in this year and probably next, if you have any figures?
Girish, I'm glad you're asking this question. Now I think you've seen a trend of about 6-7 months continuously doing well above 140, so April reaching 160 or above. I think now, not just me, the council, many members, not discussed today, be sure of that. As and when we interact, are also now concerned about widening the tax base. We need the revenue, we're getting it, we are trying to stabilize it at some number, and all that is there. Instead of my speculating on what that number would be, where you can comfortably place your finger and say that's what is going to be the, for sure average rate collection. I think there should now be, and most of us agree, we should at every level attempt to widen the GST base. So the focus will be on how much all of us are putting effort towards that, so that state plus the center put an effort consciously to widen the tax base.
90, yeah.
No, 15 were tabled, 7 plus 1, 8 were taken up and sorted out. And the tribunal, the 2 of them are very important, so they will be taken up. We are trying to address this at the earliest, meaning address this in the sense, take up this tribunal GOM's recommendation at the earliest possibly. So not necessary immediately to ask me when is the date, but at the earliest we would like to have it. So no interim arrangements.
Yeah, Shrimi from Business Standard. Ma'am, as the council decided today to bring Mentha oil under reverse charge mechanism, if you could explain how this will help to curb, all the which is like tax evasion prone commodities, how this will help.
So let me clarify that Mentha oil was already under reverse charge mechanism. This is not a new decision. What was decided today was to include Mentha arvensis, which is also like Mentha, under the reverse charge mechanism. So it's not a new decision. As to how it helps, reverse charge mechanism helps. You are all aware, how value added taxation and taxation at each level helps. So we are just trying to capture, if I may use the word, the taxpayer at each level in the value chain. So that's how it will help in better implementation of GST, which is a value-added taxation.
One.
Hello, ma'am. This is Surbhi from the Financial Express. Ma'am, just wanted to understand that was there any discussion on when the next GST Council meeting would be? And if you could give us some idea of what are the pending items apart from the GOM reports? Thank you.
No decision has been taken on when the GST Council meeting would be. The pending items, I've told you about the 2 GOMs. They are largely the main things. Other than that, very small.
And that they were, very formal kind of agenda, like mostly for information, like the GST, and one agenda was related to, the revenue. We give out, the revenue figures every year. So this was one agenda which could not be covered. Another agenda was what the GSTN does, and there were certain recommendations, more in the nature of information.
Last question.
What is the consideration for the no bonus claim on insurance? What was the industry demand and what was the discussion in the GST Council for no bonus claim on insurance?
So see what. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So the issue was whether no claim bonus is to be included in the taxable value or not. And there were some disputes around that. What the council has today clarified that no claim bonus will not be includable in the value and therefore it will not be taxable.
Sir,
Rajiv
दैनिक जागरण से सर एक चीज क्लैरिफाई करना चाहते हैं, फेक इनवॉइस को डिक्रिमिनेशन से बाहर रखा गया है या उसी में है?
Fake
So you already had, you currently have a limit of 1 crore in law for, beyond which only cases are recognized as, attracting criminal action. What was proposed to the council and what came out of the discussions was that the limit will be enhanced from 1 crore to 2 crore now. So cases involving a tax amount of up to 2 crores will go out of the purview of criminal action, except cases of fake invoices, because it was felt by the council that we still have cases of fake invoicing, and until we are able to more squarely address it over a period of time, the current threshold of 1 crore should be retained. So the present threshold of 1 crore has been retained only for fake invoice cases. Others have been decriminalized, and up to the threshold has been raised to 2 crore.
Thank you.